India is facing a twin health challenge: rising diabetes and growing lifestyle disorders. At the center of this conversation is Ozempic, a global drug that has just entered the Indian market by pharma company Novo Nordisk. Now, what does this mean for patients, doctors, and the healthcare system? Where do innovation, access, and responsibility intersect? To walk us through this all, we're being joined by Vikrant Shrotriya, the Managing Director of Novo Nordisk India.
Thank you very much, Tanushka. Thanks a lot for having me.
So, Vikrant, first off, Ozempic in India is what you describe as tailored pricing for the Indian market. How significant is this for India's diabetes care landscape, given over 100 million adults here live with type 2 diabetes?
Yeah, it's actually a very significant step. In fact, the launch of injectable semaglutide is a significant milestone for us as well as for doctors and patients. If you see, there have been many of the treatments which are available, but most often, whenever the treatment is given, patients do not have what they really require, the kind of HbA1c control, and if at all they achieve it at the cost of the weight gain. Now, when a type 2 patient, they take semaglutide when prescribed by the doctor, it's not only the significant HbA1c reduction, which is 2.8%, but along with that, they also experience weight loss. It becomes important that a holistic approach for the treatment is given. Now, this adds to another armamentarium in terms of getting the access of this molecule in India. And I personally feel that given the kind of population, there is a big room for this innovation in the hands of the doctor to offer it to the patients.
Right. You've already addressed the elephant in the room. Ozempic was developed for diabetes, but it's now better known for weight loss. Doctors also raise concerns about its side effects, such as gastro issues, kidney problems. Now, tell me, do you believe the narrative has slipped out of medical control?
I would say the narrative is actually still with the science, but there are some of these kind of issues which keep on coming. While on one side these issues are there, it affects the mindset of some of the patients who actually should access this medication and should go to their doctor with the advice what doctor has given and take it. And what makes it deterrent is that they read about it and they try to avoid it. But on the other side, you have got patients who do not worry about these kind of things and they actually go to the pharmacy and take it. We would deter and we would advise people to first go to the right doctor, take the prescription, and then go to the legitimate pharmacy to access this medication. While with any medication, there are always risks and benefits. And the benefit of this medication for type 2 diabetes outscores the risks which are actually there. They have been clearly, and they have been studied by all the regulators across the globe, majority of them, for the launches, and likewise also in India.
Hmm. Leading on to my next question, you've already spoken about this a little. To build on to that, semaglutide based therapies have broad benefits. We know from glucose control to cardiovascular protection. Now, how is Novo Nordisk working with Indian regulators and clinics to, as you also mentioned, ensure appropriate use and not off label or cosmetic use?
We have been advocating it right from the rooftop. We are talking to everybody that please do not self-medicate. It is extremely important that people do not go just by what they hear in social media. If they think that they require to control their diabetes, they should go to the right doctor. And that is what we have been advising. In fact, when I'm talking to you, we are reiterating this on many of the platforms. And not only here, in fact, all our patient education material advises patients, please go to the doctor and take it.
Mhm. That's very important, very important to note for our viewers as well, to not self-medicate, especially when it comes to such complex drugs that are designed for specific purposes, especially considering that India has one of the largest diabetes and obesity burdens globally. So now with both Ozempic and Wegovy under your belly, how does Novo Nordisk envision integrated care for metabolic health beyond just medication?
And we always say that whenever you are looking for integrated or comprehensive approach, diet and exercise have a very strong play in metabolic disorder, whether it is diabetes or obesity, and
Hmm.
and and most of the other chronic disorders.
Hmm.
It is a preventive measure which one has to actually take to live a very healthy lifestyle. We
Hmm.
advocate a healthy lifestyle. We advocate to have a balanced diet. But despite that, you also know that diabetes or obesity, it's not only just the lifestyle, but it is an issue which is beyond sometimes diet and exercise. We can
Yeah.
always blame it to the genes, we can always blame it to the environment, and it just sets in. It's a chronic progressive disorder. And when that happens, that's a time one has to actually go to the doctor and have an integrated approach. Like for any chronic disease, be very careful about your diet, do your exercise, and take medication. The important part is to have your HbA1c control below 7%, below 6.5%. That
Yeah.
is very important. Have your weight in control according to your gender and height. That's also very important. And
Hmm.
these are some of the things which we keep advocating.
Precisely, yes. And I'm glad that you're bringing about this point about integrated approach, because that generally gets left out in the conversation when such drugs are being talked about.
We always say it is not a quick fix. It
Hmm.
is not something that you can have, you can do anything and take this injection once a week and it solves most of the issues. It's not
Yeah.
a panacea. While we are bringing this innovation from our laboratories, we also keep on telling that please adhere to your diet, exercise, doctor's advice, nutrition advice, do your yoga, do your tai chi, do your running. You do what is required in terms of keeping yourself fit and healthy.
Precisely, Vikrant. But do you also feel that is Ozempic or Wegovy, they have the tendency at this point to become quote unquote a miracle drug, especially with celebrities from Elon Musk to even a lot of Bollywood stars using and consuming Ozempic?
There are no miracle in science. Miracles, it is the science as of today. The yesterday's science was something else. And in today's science, this is one of the very powerful, you can say, medication which is in the hands of the doctor. And at this point of a time, it is giving a very significant HbA1c control to the doctor. And that is what is important today. I would
Right.
refrain to call any of the medications as miracles.
Precisely. Now, Novo Nordisk faces competition in India from Eli Lilly's Monjaro, which has quickly taken over the market share. How are you positioning Wegovy and Ozempic against such competition?
There is virtually no competition if we try to see the disease and the burden. India being almost diabetes capital of the world, we have obesity problem to the tune 250 million, diabetic population 100 million. I think the competition is the disease. The competition is that more and more people are getting affected by the metabolic disorders. It's not only the aging population, it's a young population. It is also the kids who are also
Hmm.
getting obese, and
Hmm.
youngs are getting type 2 diabetes much more early. It's the females who are getting affected. So I think so we are fighting against competition. We are competing against the prosperity by which there are plenty of calories, and we are not taking the physical alertness which is required in terms of keeping ourselves fit. Now,
Hmm.
now, in this kind of a scenario, when we launch this medication, this becomes a watershed movement because it has shown that it has a potential to bend the curve of diabetes. It has a potential when it comes to the obesity solution in higher
Hmm.
strength to bend the curve of obesity.
Right. Now, affordability has also been a big talking point, with weekly costs in India set far below the markets like that in the US, I believe. How did you arrive at these specific price points, and what message does it then convey about access?
It is an approach. We are a global organization, so we bring the global innovation with the same similar quality, similar standards. And when we bring them, the local fit is always trying to see what will bring the access of molecules, because getting an innovation and not bringing an access is just not something which is required in any country.
Mm-hmm.
So when we launched obesity solution in India,
Mm-hmm.
we heard the patients, we heard the doctors, and we did also a little bit market research in terms of finding out what would be that comfortable zone at which patients and doctors would prefer this medication. And that's the
Right.
reason when it came to the obesity, we reduced 37% price, and
Yeah.
Ozempic, we have brought it at 2,200 per week.
Yeah.
Now, this this is what we call it a tailored Indian pricing. And there is no rocket science for it. We know that in India, if you want to have access of this molecule to more number of patients, you have to be responsible to see that it is at a price point which is commercially sustainable to us, but also bring more accessibility to patients.
Also, the wide market also that we're looking at in our country,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
people from all demographics.
I know in India there are many India which live, and it's not only diabetes and obesity. If you see, it's not only the urban phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
From it is also happening in the villages, and we have to be responsible that it goes far and wide in terms of a solution to the patients.
But do you feel that, even at the price that it is at currently, Ozempic or Wegovy will be able to tap into village areas? Would people, there's a lot more that goes in other than price. It's about awareness as well.
And for any disease, it's always about creating awareness, creating the diagnosis capabilities,
Mm-hmm.
building up that, having the medication or the treatment access, and
Mm-hmm.
also looking for that outcome. Now take a case of diabetes. We call it a rule of 50. If there are
Yeah.
100 people who are diabetic, then you will find that only 50% know about this problem, and then only 50% take the medication,
Hmm.
and then you will find that only 50% of them have an outcome which is desired. So you are losing at every point a sizable population in terms of an outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And the important thing which we drive along with innovation, along with science, is creating that awareness about the issue and the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That if you have diabetes, please make sure that your HbA1c, your glucose control, is within the limits. If
Right.
you have obesity, it's not normal to have an overweight. It is abnormal. So we keep on fighting also along with the myths which are there in the market. It's because there are so many myths in the market. For
Mm-hmm.
insulin, we have always struggled that people think that once on insulin is always on insulin.
I
While
was going to get
we have
to
been
these myths.
advocating an early insulin initiation, it has been
Yes.
always very difficult. And I think here also we will keep advocating that if you have diabetes and if your control is not being achieved, your doctor is the best judge. There are many of the solutions, and this is one of the solutions which have also come in, and doctor will judge what suits you best.
Vikrant, exactly. This is going to be my, next question to you. If there are some myths that you could debunk about the use of Ozempic and Wegovy, and also what are some side effects also that are most talked about that actually may or may not be true?
I would say one of the myths could be, people thinking that it's an excuse drug. You can do anything and can take this medication and your diabetes can get controlled. And also, so that's a myth. You have to
Hmm.
still live healthy, right?
Hmm.
Then there are myths around this that, we keep on hearing about that there are so many myths around everything gets attached to Ozempic, right? Any kind of, you can say, or you have heard about the face, which is attached to uh,
The Ozempic
Ozempic,
face, yeah,
yeah,
very
yeah,
sunken,
the muscle
hollow
mass
face.
loss. And
Yeah.
what we have to say is that when people with type 2 diabetes, or for a weight loss solution, when people lose their weight in the higher strength, there is always a muscle loss which happens,
Hmm.
and that's where come your fitness regimen. That while there is a weight loss which happens with a weight loss medication, one has
Mm-hmm.
to also go for physical fitness. They
Right.
should go and do some kind of a strength training. As we are aging, we are also losing muscle. We also have to take a very balanced diet, which is
Yeah.
carbohydrate, fats, and protein, and it has got the right mix. It's a colorful plate, which is also very important. So we keep fighting those myths. Some people think that, if we take these kind of medications, they can have an eye effect, right?
Yeah.
Please go to your doctors. They can have, pancreatitis. Please go to your doctors, because these are the things which are very rare phenomena, and we
Mm-hmm.
have not find any kind of a causal relationship between the medications and the outcome. And regulators have evaluated these medications with very careful insights, and they have found the benefit and the risk which is
Right.
appropriate for the treatment of type 2 diabetes, and also in the weight loss, for in higher strengths for weight loss. So
Right.
people should be aware that going to the doctor, talking about their problem, talking about their solution is the right way,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just educating themselves from social media.
Precisely. My last question to you, Vikrant, would be rather, in one line, Ozempic, medicine or wellness product?
It is a medicine.
All right. Thank you
Don't
so
get
much.
confused ever by it.
Thank you so much for speaking to NDTV, Vikrant. So that was Vikrant Shrotriya, the managing director of Novo Nordisk, which has just launched the global drug Ozempic in India, and walking us through how it's a curve at this point in the broader segment of healthcare. And what Vikrant also stresses upon is integrated approach. You cannot just use this drug without a doctor's, of course, involvement in prescriptions, and a healthy based lifestyle and diet. Thank you for speaking to NDTV.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tanushka, for having me.